Morning, folks. Been awake about 15 minutes. Looks like another very nice morning on trail. Centipede has gone already. She just left about 5 minutes ago. Basically, she wants to beat as much of the heat as she can, and she wants to get to town. So there's a large climb later on today, and I think she wants to try and get that done sooner rather than later. I've just had a breakfast bar, and I've not got a great deal of food left. And I forgot to buy breakfast for this section anyway, so it's just been breakfast bars. There's a lot of night hikers coming past last night, which I can kind of understand. Saw at least 4 or 5 people go past the tent at different points. One person has set up in the little spot I pointed out opposite us. I should be about half an hour or so before I get anything like ready to move. Got to finish my coffee off, and it's a big one this morning too. And then get all packed up. There's all these little tiny little black flies in this area. I've not seen them anywhere else, but there's loads of them in this area. They were plaguing me last night when I was sat eating my meal. I sat eating my wrap. But yeah, we've got about 18 miles to do to get to the road where we get off for Tehachapi today. So the sooner we get there, the better, because I am filthy and I stink as well. Really looking forward to a bed and a shower and getting resupplied with some decent food. Oh, there's nothing like a nice brisk climb to get you feeling like you're dying first thing in the morning. Oh man, look at the scenery there. Climbing again, so you get to start looking down back into the valley floor again where we've come from. It's crazy. The hiker you see coming up the hill is Joe. If you watched episode 1, you might remember me mentioning him. I think he was probably the first PCT hiker I stopped and talked to on this trail this time. He's from London. I met him about 6 or 7 miles in, something like that. Nice to see him still going. He's lost a lot of weight as well. And he's got a beard. I nearly didn't recognise him when he walked past me this morning. Making good progress. Oh man. The wind from yesterday has died right down. There was a little flourish last night, and then it's died a death completely. So we're just back to plain old baking heat on this climb. Oh. So this down here in the bottom of the valley is where we were hoping to get to last night and we were aiming for. Decided against it in the end. I can see one tent down there at the moment at least, and then you can see possibly the trail kind of goes off, meandering up this hillside and climbing up towards the top of the hill there. Really nice setting. I imagine it's maybe a little chilly in the bottom of the canyon, but it's probably going to be quite nice this morning. Right, well that's me filled up. 2.7 litres again. 16 miles to the road where we get off to go into Tehachapi. About 7 miles from here, there is a water cache that someone maintains, and it's a pretty important one because this is a dry section. With the exception of this stream I've just passed, I don't think there's any more natural water sources between here and Tehachapi. So the water cache at mile 549 is a very important one. It's also right at the top of a big climb, and I imagine it can be quite difficult to maintain. So my thought process is I've just filled up what I can down there so that once I get to the cache, I don't have to use loads of water, which I think is the sensible thing to do. And even though the caches like that one are pretty well maintained, there's a few on the trail in the desert that are almost a dead cert, I guess you could say. But you should never rely on a water cache because you just don't know if it's been maintained or if it's been ransacked. Not ransacked, but all used up. So it's good practice to carry with you, I think anyway, a good amount of water. There's quite a few people camped down there, as you would expect. Not a great deal of spots from what I could see for tents, but quite a few cowboy camping spots, which a few people were doing. Certainly the weather for it. You can see already just how far we've climbed this morning. I am zoomed in slightly, but it's always amazing, like when you look at a distance with the naked eye, like looking across to that mountain range right in the back of the shot there. That's where we were 48 hours ago. That's what we came down off. And you kind of look over there and you think, wow, that looks so far away. And then you realise, hang on a second, I've walked across that in 48 hours. It's pretty crazy when you start thinking about it like that. And even more so when you look on a map and you see how far you've travelled by foot on something like this. I mean, it's almost 550 miles already. I'm saying already, but 550 miles by foot. It's pretty impressive, really. Especially when you take into account just the variety of landscape we walk through as well. Remember there was the day where I was walking through snow in the evening, and in the morning I'd been sweltering walking through a rock field at lower elevation. So the changes are pretty rapid and can be pretty drastic on something like this. And you've got to try and be prepared for whatever is thrown at you the best you can. Now, all along this trail in the last 550 miles, I've seen some pretty nice campsites and been lucky enough to stay at some as well. When you're selecting a campsite, there's always loads of things to take into account: how tired you are, where the nearest water is it protected from the wind, things like that. All sorts of stuff go into selecting somewhere to sleep. This, I'm going to be completely honest, I wouldn't care about any of that stuff. This has got one of the best views from a camp spot I've seen in ages. And it's not just that spot, there's a few flat spots on this ridge as well, where you could easily cowboy camp, or you could put a little tent up. I could probably even get my tent somewhere up here, as big as it is. But I'm just going to show you the actual view you've got from this ridge line. It looks like there is a little bit of a trail on here, whether it be a bike trail or a walking trail. But from over there, you might just be able to make out actually the glinting sun umbrella of Centipede coming up the actual PCT trail there on the hillside. And then you're looking out across this huge expanse of desert, and it's just breathtaking. It's absolutely amazing. I would love to have slept up here. And then the PCT itself goes off where you can see the two hikers there just disappearing off over the hillside. Just continue climbing for a few miles yet. And then this afternoon we should be dropping back down again. But I can't get enough of this view. This is just superb. Let's look at this dude, or dudette, been posing for pictures on the trail in front of us, and just ran off up the bank here. I'm sorry I can't zoom in any further. That's everything this camera's got. But I've not seen one with those markings before. It's really, really nice. Look at this cheeky little swine, sat right on top of the trail marker. Alright, good evening, not good evening, good afternoon folks. It's 12:35 and we've just left the mile 549 water cache. We've been there at least an hour, I would guess. We've got 9 miles to town from where we are, or 9 miles to the road where we hitch into town. But when we got to the water cache, one of the guys that helps maintain it was there. And he was telling us a few stories for a while. And it was nice, real nice to hear him actually, and nice to chat with him. It was actually his brother who started the cache up and kind of got it going. Unfortunately, he passed away, I believe it was in 2023. And now his brother, the guy that we met, and I think there's possibly another brother as well, they kind of maintain it between them. And they do an absolutely brilliant job. There was there was one big parasol up, and he was going to fetch another one. Because it is on a ridge, it's quite an exposed area on the ridge. Loads of chairs out. 2 huge barrels of spring water, freshly filled spring water, and then some big bottles of water as well, all shaded in like a shaded cupboard type thing. And he'd even brought some ice cold sodas over so we timed it perfectly. We got there, had an ice cold Pepsi, and Centipede even had an ice cold Dr. Pepper, which she normally only drinks root beer, so nice to see her experimenting there. Yeah, and we had a bit of food. Couple of other hikers there. Joe, the young lad from the UK that I met on the first day, he was there. A couple from Washington that we've been kind of crisscrossing the last maybe week or so. And then a few more turned up as well. So we had a nice chat. It was nice, relaxing little time under the shade there, under the parasols. Nice to have a bite to eat as well. But now we are pretty much, it's basically like a few ups and downs, but mostly downhill towards Tehachapi. We were talking about food back there, as hikers often talk about. Watermelon came up quite a bit, salads, things like that. So I pretty much know what I'm going to get when I get into town now. Really looking forward to a few days off. We get into town a few days earlier than planned, and then 1 day earlier than the second plan. So we had 2 nights booked at a hotel. We had Thursday and Friday booked. Today's Wednesday. We've also booked tonight as well at a different hotel. So we're going to be in Tehachapi for 3 nights, have a nice rest, get stuff sorted out, get caught up on videos. Hello, centipedes.
Hello.
Hello. Where have you been?
Just up the trail.
Just up the trail, right, okay. Lead on. Yeah, we'll have a nice little rest, and it's coming to the end of the desert section and the start of the Sierra section. Mile 700 pretty much is the start of the Sierras. So there's going to be a little working out of things to do, resupplies, sending some food supply parcels ahead in the mail. I've still got to do something about a new sleeping bag. So yeah, we've just got to sort all stuff like that out basically, and also quite literally have a rest. This has been quite a tough section, not so much hiking wise for me, but the heat has been what I would term draining. It kind of, I don't know, it seems to suck energy out of you. Don't get me wrong, it's nice, but it's difficult to hike in. So it's going to be nice to actually get clean, get some clean clothes as well, and just chill out. Really looking forward to it. Yes! Now that's something else to cut out. Right, I'm not sure if that's hawthorn or not, but it's extremely fragrant, whatever it is, and there's been a lot of it just this last quarter mile as well. Must be an area, and a good area for it to grow. But we've been passing some really, really nice camp spots, kind of like little sandy areas tucked away in the trees at the side of the trail. Really, really appealing ones. And then we've got another huge wind farm down here to our left. I think we do actually walk through part of it, but it does look pretty expansive. It is really hot again now. I'm glad we're about, about 6,000 feet, maybe something like that. Maybe a little bit less. Slight bit of breeze, not as much as yesterday, he says as it picks up. Oh, that's nice. It's real nice. But yeah, this wind farm, hoping to get some better views of it to show you, because it is absolutely huge. So I'm going to ask anyone else out there who's done like a multi-day hike or a longer hike. I'm always looking forward to getting to a town, and especially on a day like this when you know you're going to be getting there. I know I'm going to be there by like 4 or 5 p.m. at the latest today. But when you keep looking at the app and the map, am I the only one who feels like I'm not getting anywhere? It's like I've just looked and it's still like 6.5, 7 miles to town. And it just feels like really, really slow going. Wow. Holy cow. That is a wind farm and a half. Whoa. See how many there are, right, stretching right off into the distance. That is insane. There must be hundreds, if not over 1,000 of them. That's crazy. Wow. That is That is a big wind farm. You can even hear the turbines from down here as well. Let's just have another look at this flannel bush, because somebody has told me now that it's flannel bush. So, in fact, several people told me. It's got really nice flowers on it. Well, it's probably about 3 p.m, somewhere around there, I'm guessing. And we're probably something like 5 miles-ish from where we're getting off. I just heard a little 4.9 then from the creature in front of me. I can't remember if I said on the previous clip, there's 2 places that you can get off the trail to go into Tehachapi. We're getting off at the first one, which, as we just said, is about roughly 4.9 miles. There's another one that's about 8 miles after that. Apparently it's a slightly easier hitch from this first spot. What quite a few people do is they'll get off at this first one. Whilst they're in town, they'll get a trail angel, or they'll ask a trail angel to drop them off at this first section. And they'll leave their bags and stuff in town. They'll hike the 8 miles or whatever it is, 7 or 8 miles to the next place with just a day pack or with no pack, whatever they feel like. And then they'll get a ride back into town to the hotel or to the trail angel's house. It's basically called slack packing. You're doing the miles, but you're not carrying your pack, your full-size pack. I've never done that myself. If it was 20 miles or 25 miles, I might consider it. But for the sake of sort of 7 or 8 miles, yeah, I'm just gonna get back on at this first intersection where we're hitching. But don't these turbines look cool, all lined up on the ridgeline? It's a beautiful area that we're walking down through as well. It's really, I'm just going to say it's really desert, because I've got no other words for it at all. You're walking on this like sandy stuff. There's all these deserty plants. I mean, just look at the colours through there where centipede is. All this, I'm going to call it hawthorn. I don't think it is, but I'm going to call it hawthorn. And this flannel bush, and these little yellow flowers and the blue ones at the side of the trail. It's absolutely stunning. It could just do with being a shade cooler, but still not too far to go to get to town and to an air-conditioned room. Look at that hillside just peppered with them. It's definitely one of the areas that sticks in my mind from 2019, this section with all the windmills or turbines, whatever you want to call them. And these big open rolling hillsides, these ones to the left. Very memorable. So after all the stuff I've walked through, my first fall on the PCT, I literally just tripped over like a little lump of dirt on the ground on this sandy soil and went almost flat on my face. It's quite funny, the stuff that happens. You expect you're going to slip on some ice or something like that, and then it's just the stupidest little thing. And then you get to something like this where floodwater has literally just destroyed the trail completely and the hillside. So you can see how much water has come through here. They've even got 2 drainage channels in here now as well, to try and manage it. It's come all the way down there, and you can see here the fence is literally just swinging in midair. Goes all the way down the hillside. It's quite steep actually, it's steeper than you realise here in this section. So, just got to take a little detour down here. Watch out for the barbed wire. What's happened?
It's too windy.
Afternoon all. Whoa, what an afternoon. Just been down through the wind farm. Still warm, still very warm, still windy. It's about 5 p.m, somewhere around there, I think. And we are just approaching, if you can make out that little power substation through there. We're just approaching mile 558.5, which is where Tehachapi, I think it's called Tehachapi Willow Springs Road, something like that anyway. That's where we're going to stand and hitch, trying to get a ride into town. And then first stop in town will be the hotel, second stop will be Walmart, I do believe. I think we do carry on this one, and it takes us down to the road, hopefully.